And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the Towers of Amhard, or Amhad. I honestly don't know how to pronounce this. I also have a hard time reading it. That is not the best of fonts to understand what that's saying. This is a game, though, that I was drawn to from Modus Game Design, because when I went by, they were showing me the tower stacking mechanism, and it made me think of that Cracker Barrel puzzle, you know, where you have a whole pile of rings. You need to move one to the next, and so you move a small disc, but a small disc can only go on top of a large disc. And I was like, wow, I like that puzzle. That's a cool mechanism for a game. And then there's Cthulhu, which I did not think wow about because Cthulhu's overdone. But hey, whatever. I like the concept of this, an abstract strategy game essentially. Let's take a look. At the beginning of the game, players are going to build a board with these various main player boards, depending on the number of players. Then you're going to place on top of each of these octagons here one of the altars. And you can see these altars are 3, 4s, and 5s. And then you'll seed in the rest of the area with these 3 different resources, red, orange, and blue, randomly. Each player has a pile of their towers here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that they'll place. And players are going to get components in this game. They're going to have disciples and cult members here, and they may get some other components like locks or books or things based on the Cthulhu monster that they're going to be using, the great old one. And so you're going to take these, and some of them may come with extra components mentioned in the corner. So you can pick one of these. Each of these has a special ability that can be activated by paying 2 of the same color resource. On a player's turn, they're going to pick one of their tower pieces. So in this case, I have to pick the one that's at the top of the tower here and move it to a new spot. So I can move it here, and then I'll take an action in this column. Next time I can move this one here, or I can move this one here. I cannot put it on top of this because you can only put a smaller disc on top of a larger disc. So next turn my options could be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or there, 1. Those are the various options. Once these are like this, I could put this one here, I could put it here, I could put this one here, I can move this one over to here then, and so on and so forth. Usually what you're going to be doing when you do this is you're going to be placing somebody in that row. So let's say I want to put out one of my cult people here in that row, and I'll place him here. I get the resource that's there. Now, once you place them out, they're going to cost stuff. So let's say this one is placed here, and I put them like this. You have to pay a resource for each cultist who's next to you in all the different directions, plus, so this one costs 1, but minus the number of the towers that are there. So if you have a tower that's 3, I would subtract 3 from that cost. So as you can see, the blue one's placing in here, but that costs nothing because it costs 1 because they're next to a purple cultist, but it's minus 1 for the tower. Later on, let's say green, it moves over here, and green puts out this guy here. He's next to 2 people, so that's 2 resources. But the tower height is 2, so 2 minus 2 is 0. And eventually, you may put somebody out. So let's say I put this person, let's say I put somebody here eventually, like this. They're now adjacent to 2 people. There's only 1 tower, so 2 minus 1 is 1. You have to pay 1 resource. You'll be getting resources as you put these disciples and cultists out on the board. And again, like I said, you have special abilities that you can do. Like one person can put a fire token directly on top of an altar. No one else can go on top of an altar. One of the characters can put out lock tokens, which will lock a space and only you can go there in the future. Once players can no longer place pieces out there, whether you've placed any player has placed their last available disciple token on the board, everyone gets 1 last turn. You'll then take your board and you will flip it to the other side and keep track of your score. You're going to check every altar on the board, and you're going to count up the people who are next to it. At that point, you'll check. So for example, this one here. These are all disciples, by the way. I was calling the big ones the disciples and the small ones cultists, but the small ones are cultists, the big ones are priests, but they're all disciples. So you'll count each disciple that's next to it. So I have 2, 1, and 1. Green gets this one. Green is going to get 3 points. And then you go through and you count up every single altar on the board, and whoever has the most points is the winner. I don't know. The components for this game, I was kind of intrigued by these wooden things, but first of all, they're not super great quality. Secondly, and maybe this is just me, but I'm not getting a Cthulhu vibe from these discs. Rather, they look like Christmas ornaments. Hark how the bells, Cthulhu is coming. The art on these is iffy at best. Is that Cthulhu from Dr. Seuss? So, I mean, I guess they're not scary. I don't really care if they're scary or not. This, though, is a mess of what to do. It's the same on everyone's board, but it tells you how to use your special ability down here. And then the rest is, it's just a mess. This is a boring score pad. And honestly, the components for this game are mediocre at best. Wow. I apologize, but this game was a huge miss for me. I already went over the components, kind of were a letdown, but the game is essentially an area control game where you're putting people around these altars. You have ones and you have twos. Great. And then you have a special ability, which, by the way, the special abilities are so boring. Some of them are a little bit more interesting than the rest, but big deal. But you're just placing things out. So you move a tower piece, which is a whole lot less exciting than you might think. Oh, this is the row I want to put something in. Can I move a tower piece there? Probably. I will then subtract the number of towers from the place I put something, and then pay resources. Yeah, that comes into effect halfway through the game. And it's just, it's so drudgery. You're trying to control around the towers, but then you're sitting there adding and subtracting the number of resources and then having more than somebody else. Ties don't go to anybody. End game scoring is kind of like, all right, who won this one, and go on. Now, the game is fairly light, and had it been done with pretty beautiful components, take the Cthulhu theme out completely, just have some white and black stones or whatever different color stones, it might be better. I think the Cthulhu theme is actually detracting because it's confusing. It has nothing to do with Cthulhu. It's abstract, and the special abilities are You have to have two of the same color, and there's just that pseudo-randomness of various colors around the board. What does it mean? Well, if you get two of the same, you can use your ability. Not that great, so I might go here to get a second of my color. Anyhow, that moving the towers thing is such a huge letdown. I was really excited about that idea, but it doesn't really mean anything. There's no clever play here. You just say, oh, that altar's 5. I want to be next to it. I want to be between the two 5s. That's a good spot. I mean, you see the good spots. It's not like a struggle. This if I put a 2 here, he's next to a 4 and a 5. And a 3. You know, he's next to 3 different altars. That seems like a great spot to put him. So all the great spots get picked right away. And then you slowly fill them up and maybe use a few special abilities. Forgettable, unfortunately. I haven't heard anything about this. No one else has talked to me about this game, and I was prepared to be like, I found something cool and unique. It's unique-ish. But the thing that makes it unique, the tower movement, isn't strong enough to carry the game. And then the theme, that's not strong enough to carry it. The component's not strong enough. It's just a miss on a lot of levels, honestly. I think that moving the towers and moving chunks of them and getting an action based on how high your tower is, that concept sounds amazing. It's just not in this game. Dice Tower Judgment, boring.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.